So you want to be an antique dealer. What does that entail? What are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the benefits? And how can you get started in an industry that may seem overwhelming at first? Thanks for watching Behind the Gavel with Jason this week. I'm Jason Roski, the owner of the KC Auction and Appraisal Company. And I want to share this on my page real quick. And I'll get right to you guys. But we see regularly people in this industry. People want to become an antique dealer for many reasons. They just love history. They love antiques. They inherited an estate that's full of antiques, and in their trials and their working through to find out a buyer or find a way to sell it, they determine that it's just better to sell on their own. So they come into the industry with a leg up, honestly. They have an inventory they had to pay no money for. Most people come to it just through an appreciation of, an understanding of, an excitement for history, antiques, quality craftsmanship, construction, all of those things. And so we're going to talk today about some of the things you need to do to get started, things to look for, and ways to make your business profitable more quickly, and some of the loopholes and some of the negative things to watch out for, because there are plenty of them. The antiques industry, I've heard said many times, attracts the best people and the worst people. There are obviously no regulatory bodies out there on a mass scale. There's some smaller associations and organizations that have codes of ethics, situations like that. But for the most part, there is no overarching body for antique dealers. And so the definition of an antique dealer is huge. And what I think of as an antique dealer would be different than your definition and thoughts, or somebody else. I know, Chad Chalfant and Bruce Gimelson, they're in the, I would call them the Tiffany level dealers. They're dealing in 5- and 6-figure objects somewhat regularly. Most people are never going to be there. Most people, who do this for an extended period of time. Hey, Pamela, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let us know. But most dealers, we come across and see regularly are looking to buy and sell things anywhere from the $20 range up to the $2,000 range. That's where most items from the States are valued. That's where most people feel comfortable buying at any given time. And so that's where most people live and breathe, and that's where most shops are full of, with exception, of course, but that's where most people are. And then, of course, you have those who deal in the lower-end collectible stuff that's $100 and less all day long, every day. And they're kind of like the McDonald's, the fast food. There's nothing great, but there's a lot of volume, and you can always be selling. If you go to flea markets, especially, that have a diverse array, outdoor markets like Brentfield or Round Top, or here locally Sparks, you'll see dealers who have, tables full of $1 and $3 and $5 items, and they're selling pieces all day long. They have customers lined up to buy all day long, and they might do 500 transactions at $4 or $5 a piece and do $2,000, $2,500. Their investment in those objects is generally very minimal, other than their time. You'll see dealers who have a lot of $20 to $200 items, and they're selling somewhat regularly. They're going to sell, 20 to 100 items at that $30 to $40, $50 range, and they'll do $2,000 or $3,000. Their cost of goods is generally a little bit more. You want to have something that sells for $100, you don't find those for 50 cents on the dollar very often. And then you'll see dealers who are selling things $200 and up, and they might sell half a dozen things over the course of a weekend and still do that $2,000 or $3,000 just because their objects are priced higher, but they had to pay a lot more, generally speaking. The more expensive an object sells for, generally speaking, the more the dealer or vendor had to pay for it to have it in their inventory. And the more valuable things get and the more commodity-like, the higher the ratio. If you want to deal in coins, you have to get used to spending 70 to 90% of your retail price point to acquire those goods. Why? Well, because anybody can sell the coins, and there is very little difference in a coin. A 1964 quarter is worth, what a 1964 quarter is worth. It doesn't matter if you have 1 or 100, they're worth the same. And so there's a commodity level there that changes that conversation. So we're not going to talk much about coins. That's a completely different subject. But let's talk about antiques. When you're looking, let's say it's a second career, so you have a little bit of money to invest in inventory. You want to build up an inventory. If you're going to have a shop or a show or set up in a booth somewhere, you need to have at least enough inventory to fill the space to draw people in. So what are some of the things you want to be looking for when you're out there buying for resale? Well, first you want to have a really good idea of what those objects will sell for. The best way to do that is to visit shops and antique shows and spend hours and days perusing websites that handle things that you're interested in. If you like Victorian furniture, learn and study Victorian furniture. Even if the market overall isn't hot, there is still a market for it. And when markets aren't hot in the general marketplace, you can oftentimes get into them for a lower price point percentage-wise. You can probably buy good Victorian furniture for 30 to 45 cents on the dollar for retail. Compared to modern furniture, you might have to spend 60 to 70 cents retail. So if you have a Victorian side chair that you're pretty sure you can sell for $100, you can probably buy that chair at an auction today for $30 to $45, maybe $50. Conversely, if there's a mid-century modern chair you think you can sell for $100, you're probably going to pay $60 or $70 because at an auction or an estate sale, there are more retail buyers in the marketplace right now, and they're going to push that price point up. And so you want to look at where's the opportunity, will that modern chair sell twice as fast as your Victorian chair, or will they sell equally same? The $100 Victorian chair today would have been $200, $250, $300 a decade ago. So it might sell quicker than the modern chair because it's a better value in the marketplace. And you'll find that there are people out there who buy things that are off season per se, because the price point comes down. You might love mid-century modern, but you're not willing to pay $3,000 for a designer side chair. But a good high quality Victorian side chair that was $3,000 a decade ago might be $1,200 now, might be $1,000 now. And so you can invest in those areas as an investor, as a collector, in areas that are as popular. And as a dealer, you need to understand that and know that people are looking to buy what's popular, of course, but there are also other areas that people are looking to buy things that aren't popular. The other thing, when you're looking for a place to sell, what's the best opportunity? You want to open up a shop of your own? Maybe, maybe not. There's a lot of overhead in opening a shop. There's a lot of time commitment. You have complete control, but you're completely in control. If you move into a group shop, I think Pam has a group shop here in the West Bottoms. It's first Friday weekend down there. I know it's really busy. She has vendors in her store, so Pamela's taking on the risks of the store at large, the other shop owners are taking on the risks of the store, whether that's the insurance, paying the utilities, having staff on hand, all of those things that have to be taken into consideration. You have to pay rent there and sometimes a portion of your sales, but your risk is really just your rent and the cost of your merchandise. You're not exposing yourself to a slip and fall lawsuit per se. You're not exposing yourself to the vagaries of the market. If you have a bad month or two, you're out your cost of your booth. If you're owning a shop, you might have a year-long lease, 2-year, 5-year lease. After 6 months, if the business goes bad, you're still on the hook for that mortgage, that lease, that commitment. And so getting in a group shop might be a great way to test the market and see if you can build up a customer base and see if your eye is appealing to those buying. There are shows all over the country. Almost every weekend there are shows someplace in this country to set up and sell at. Again, much smaller risk, a few $100s up to a few $1,000s for the high-end shows. Palm Beach just had the Modernism Week, so that show is really expensive to set up at. But you can set up at Brimfield for several $100s, and there's going to be 20 to 30, 40,000 event buyers through there over the course of a week. There's down in Florida, there's Mount Dora. In Atlanta, there's Scott's Market. In Texas, there's Round Top. Here in Kansas City, there's Sparks and White Cloud that happen 2 or 3 times a year. And there's others around for that outdoor flea market. In Ohio, there's a big one that our friends go out to. Rochester, Minnesota has Gold Rush. Again, some of these are indoor shows, some of them are outdoor shows, some of them are a combination. And so visit those shows before you spend money on inventory to find out, is it going to be a good fit? If you go to a show and there's nothing but primitives there and you're selling mid-century modern, it may not be the best thing to spend $300 in hotel and food to be at that show. But if you're selling primitives and you think your price points are competitive with other vendors and there are buyers there, that's the other thing when you investigate a show. You want to go there when they open, see what kind of crowds they have when they open it. You want to go in the middle of the afternoon on the first day, see if there are extended crowds, if there's serious long-term participation, and then go on the last day if it's a multiple-day show. Are there still people shopping? And do you see bags walking out? Do you see furniture walking out? Do you see paintings being carried to cars? Those things are so important when you're shopping a show to set up at, because you're investing your time and effort and resources in that show. Online is, of course, another spectacular opportunity. You can reach so many people so much quicker, so much easier with lesser cost. eBay is good and bad. Amazon is good and bad. And of course, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of blog posts and websites dedicated to those commentaries on those two platforms and others. Ruby Lane and TIAS and First Dibs if you're carrying high-end objects. There's all kinds of pros and cons for all of those. Spend some time researching them. If you have dealers in your area that are using those platforms, talk to them and see what kind of success they're running into and seeing what kind of problems they're running into, because it's so much about knowing what you're exposing yourself to. The other thing is, if this is a second career choice, if you've been in an office for 20 years, 30 years, and you've always wanted to retire and become an antique dealer, make sure that the money you're spending on antiques is money that you're not going to miss. Because especially when you're first starting out, people have a tendency to pay more than they should for items that they really like with little regard for the marketplace. And so you end up with an inventory of things that you love, that you don't sell, that you're not selling, that you don't care if you're selling, and so your collection just grows. And so I tell people, when you're looking at buying inventory for your shop, your shows, for your online platform, your stores, buy two kinds of things: the things that you love because you know them really, really, really well, or buy things you don't care at all about, but you have good profit margins in. And so that really opens you up to being more profitable and successful. Thanks for hitting the like button there, Dustin. If anybody watching has questions, thoughts, or concerns, go ahead and post them here. If you like what I'm talking about, hit the like button, the share button. We really appreciate you letting your friends know that you're watching. But by carrying things that you love, you'll have a passion for it, and you'll find other passionate collectors, and you can talk to them on that passionate collector level and drive more sales that way. By selling things you don't care about, that's really business then, and so you're not going to get carried away in, I've got to have that because I love it. You're going to say, it's a $100 thing, I'm willing to pay $45 for it, and I can sell it for $70 if I need to and turn revenue so I can invest in other things. That's probably one of the most important things. Carry the things you love that you can talk passionately about and really engage with collectors on a level that a generalist dealer cannot. And then carry things that you like, that you have an appreciation for and that you understand, but you look at that as much more of an X's and O's, the logistics of and the business of being an antique dealer. I need to pay $400 and I can sell it for $800 kind of a thing. And so you have that, you grow your profit margin on the things that you're not as invested in, and you can carry the things you love, because you might pay $600 for that $800 item if you really love it, because you want to attract those collectors and you don't mind having it around for a year or two because you just love it. And so those are really super serious things to consider. There's a few other things. We're going to kind of wrap this up in just a few minutes here, but again, be really careful about what you're investing your money in, and spend some time researching the market before you start buying, researching where you want to sell before you start buying, and researching and having a plan in place and having resources at hand that you don't need to eat out of for a while. Because antiques industry, nobody needs what we're selling in this industry. We love to sell artwork. We love to sell jewelry. We love to sell good antique furniture and rugs here at the KC Auction Company. Nobody needs any of it. So there are times when the economy goes bad, and we've had a 10-year run of the economy doing nothing but getting stronger. I was in business before that when the economy wasn't. We were selling good Victorian oak pieces for $30 and $40 because that's all the money in the room. Now those same pieces are bringing $200, $300, and $400 at auction, which is still less than the high point, but it's much better than it once was. And so you need to make sure that every penny you're investing in this business as an antique dealer is money that you don't need to live on. If it's a second career, if it's your full-time business, like it has been for me for 30 years now. Oh my goodness. There are times when we all get overextended. We all buy more than we should. We spend more money than we really ought to because of the opportunity presented itself. But if you're doing this every day, buying and selling 8, 10, 12 hours a day, you can generally sell your way back out of a hole if you need to. You always want to have things in inventory or in your collection that you can liquidate quickly to get funds back in your account. We just did that with a dealer not too long ago. They had their card kind of wasn't performing as well as they wanted to, as the heater was out. So we sold a bunch of stuff for them and in a short amount of time, and they were able to turn their collection into a new vehicle for them, or newer vehicle for them. And so they had that inventory around that they could liquidate in a relatively short amount of time to address life issues. We all have lives. We would love to talk about antiques all day long, but as we get older, my kids are in high school and soon to be in college. A lot of my customers and colleagues have grandchildren now, and so your life conversation changes. So keep that in mind really seriously when you're looking at what is this going to take away from, what can you do to protect yourself, and then just really study the marketplace, the things that you love, and you'll be able to find deals in areas that other people can't by having a deep breadth of knowledge in a certain area. So thank you all so much for watching. Behind the Gavel is a weekly episode here on Facebook Live, and we post this on YouTube as well. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and post them here in the comment section here. You can always send us a direct message. You can give us a phone call at 816-283-3633. Drop us an email at info@kcauctioncompany.com. Letter K, letter C, auction company, spelled out.com. And we'd be happy to address any questions, thoughts, or concerns that you have. If you have a question you'd like us to address here on the weekly on Behind the Gavel with Jason, we'd be happy to hear from you on that. It's been an exciting week here at the auction house. We uploaded a great single interstate jewelry collection this week. We're working on more of that collection. We're working on the next auction after that, which has some spectacular early silver, gold coin from 1880s, 1890s. That's about 2.5, 3 ounces, about $4,000 worth of gold in it, which is really special. It's on its way to be melted. Monday night, I'll be on KCPT during Antiques Roadshow for their pledge drive to support the station and to talk about the KCPT Fine Art and Antique Appraisal event coming up soon. So again, thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, post them here. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and hopefully it doesn't snow too much where you're at. We're talking 2 to 7 inches here Saturday night into Sunday here in Kansas City. Thank you all so much, and have a great weekend.